All right, this week, corporate and government leaders are gathering in the Swiss alpine town of Davos for the annual meeting of the World Economic Forum. And President Trump says he'll discuss the issue of Greenland while he's there, posting on social media that he agreed to a meeting of various parties in Davos, Switzerland. Now, this comes as the president has escalated his campaign to acquire Greenland, threatening several European nations with a 10% tariff starting February 1st and rising to 25% in June. So what can we make of the president's latest moves? And what kind of impact could this have, not only here in the United States, but beyond? Well, here now to discuss this is David Bahnsen, founding managing partner and chief investment officer of the Bahnsen Group, one of the top financial advisors in the country. David, welcome back to Washington Watch. It's great to have you.
Wonderful to be with you as always.
Okay, let's start with President Trump here. He's willing to go into a trade war over this issue. What kind of impact could that have?
I don't think he is willing to go into a trade war. He's willing to threaten it and to try to leverage it, and he's done this quite a bit. Going back to the first term and the second term, the one thing he has never allowed to happen is a trade war, but there's been a lot of talk, and as we saw last year, there are certainly implementation of higher tariffs. My own view is that the particular tariffs that you're alluding to additional 10% that goes up to 25 on top of other tariffs already in place, that would result in ripping up all the deals that have already been cut with different European bloc countries. I would be utterly shocked if any of that were to happen. But this is a pretty familiar play for the president to at least try to use it in his negotiating.
All right. Totally get what you're saying there. So how do you see all of this playing out? What do you think is going to happen?
I have a few things I know to be true and a few things I don't know. One of the things I know is that the president cares a great deal about something called market discipline, that he will push things until the market disciplines him away from it, whether it be bond markets, bond yields moving, or even the stock market itself. And there's a certain threshold of pain. But the people that I'm extremely close with in the Trump 1.0 administration have all indicated to me how significant of a factor, a report card on his presidency, he believes financial markets to be. And I don't think that's a big secret. He talks about it publicly all the time. So the question is what markets are going to do. I do not think Europe is going to give in on this one. I think they see this as a point that goes beyond just negotiating over what the price of shipping wine or chocolate is going to be. And I also believe that the president has less leverage than he's had in the past. This is a midterm election year. We're dealing with a major affordability issue here. The president already indicated that he recognizes the impact tariffs have on prices by having to reverse course on tariffs on coffee, sugar, fruit, a lot of grocery items. One of the things that they're supposedly talking about doing in their housing affordability plan is giving relief to tariffs on construction inputs and building products. So I think the last thing the president wants is to see this escalate. So that's the part I know. How he gets off of it or what he gets out of it in his negotiating, he has a mind of his own on that stuff.
Do you have, with your expertise, any most likely scenario that you think would potentially happen?
I wish that I had expertise on the mind and activity of President Trump. I take the compliment that I have some expertise in financial markets, but what we're really talking about right now is just sort of how the president is going to tweet and announce things, and the speech that he's going to give at Davos tomorrow. We've been spending the last week and a half expecting that he was going to go use Davos to give a speech on his American affordability agenda. Now it sounds like he's going to only be talking about Greenland and European Union cooperation and trade ramifications. So yeah, I'm not trying to dodge, because if I had an answer to give you, I would, but I really don't know. And I just want to be honest. I don't know.
Well, I don't either. That's why I was kind of throwing it in your direction to see if you would have a guess. We'll all be waiting to see what happens tomorrow and beyond. And in the midst of all of that, we're still waiting for the U.S. Supreme Court ruling on the president's use of emergency law to impose sweeping tariffs. What are the different outcomes here and the potential impact, do you think?
That's probably the most disappointing thing that happened today, was that the Supreme Court did not rule and said basically it's going to be the end of February. And it's frustrating for me as a constitutionalist because it's just so painfully obvious to me that the Supreme Court should be ruling in favor of the appeals court here, that the particular rationale of the Emergency Economic Powers Act does not give the executive branch authority to tax. And then from there, we'd see the administration pivot to what they were going to do with either 232 or 301 rationale, which is national security. Like, for example, the steel and aluminum tariffs right now are under a different rationale than a lot of these other tariffs that he implemented. And I've been expecting for some time, the prediction markets have been expecting for some time, the Supreme Court's going to rule on what is a reasonably, I think, simple ruling of the case constitutionally. But now what they've done by saying it's going to be late February is it leaves 5 more weeks of uncertainty. And I think that's difficult for the economy and for companies too. Companies can't make buying and selling decisions when they don't know what to expect. So I really think it would have been better for everybody to get this done sooner than later.
Less than a minute before we have a break, but what are you and others going to be keeping your eye on in Davos as this unfolds?
Indications from the president of de-escalation, and it doesn't mean he comes out. President Trump is, all of us know his personality enough to know he's not going to come in and wave a white flag. But is he going to talk in a way that suggests a little more sober-minded judiciousness, or is he going to escalate? Is he looking for a brawl on this thing? That the tenor of his talks in Davos are going to be interesting for financial markets.
Well, thank you so much, financial advisor David Bahnsen. Always great to have you. Appreciate and welcome your input very much.